Good morning, friends, and welcome to episode 5 of Principal Science, and I'm your host, Principal Science. Today, we're going to read Rosie Revere, engineer. We're also going to learn about a new simple machine. Next week, we're going to learn about complex machines. I'm going to show you something we're doing here to help through this COVID-19 crisis using some of our technology, our science, technology, engineering, and math skills. That is super cool. We're going to meet a new scientist and learn a new science vocabulary word. So enjoy episode 5 of Principal Science. Did you know the speed of sound is around 767 miles per hour? And when traveling through water, sound moves about 4 times faster than it does when traveling through air. I didn't know, did you? Our scientist of the day is Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein rewrote the laws of nature. He completely changed the way we understand the behavior of things as basic as light, gravity, and time. Although scientists today are comfortable with Einstein's ideas, in his time, which is 1879 to 1955, they were completely revolutionary ideas. Most people didn't even begin to understand them. If you're new to science, you'll probably find that some of his ideas take a little time to get used to. Our scientist of the day is Albert Einstein.
Scientists say decibel. This is a measurement that describes the loudness of sounds in the range audible to the human ear. The scale starts at 0 decibels, which is about the quietest sound an ear can pick up. As values on the decibel scale increase, their loudness increases by multiples of 10. 20 decibels is 10 times louder than 10 decibels, 30 decibels is 100 times louder than 10, and 40 decibels is 1,000 times louder. A typical conversation is around 60 decibels, and a rock concert would be closer to 120 decibels. Much louder than that, and you'd start to feel pain.
Rosie Revere, engineer, by Andrea Beatty. Illustrations by David Roberts. This is a story of Rosie Revere, who dreamed of becoming a great engineer. In Lila Greer's classroom at Blue River Creek, young Rosie sat shyly, not daring to speak. But when no one saw her, she peeked in the trash for treasures to add to her engineer stash. And late at night, Rosie rolled up her sleeves and built in the hideaway under the eaves. Alone in her attic, the moon high above, dear Rosie made gadgets and gizmos she loved. And when she grew sleepy, she hid her machines far under the bed where they'd never be seen. When Rosie was young, she had not been so shy. She worked with her hair swooping over one eye and made fine inventions for uncles and aunts, a hot dog dispenser in helium pants. The uncle she loved most was zookeeper Fred. She made him a hat to keep snakes off his head. From parts of a fan and some cheddar cheese spray, which everyone knows keeps the pythons away. And when it was finished, young Rosie was proud. But Fred slapped his knee and chuckled out loud. He laughed till he wheezed and his eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who stood there embarrassed, perplexed, and dismayed. She looked at the cheese hat and then looked away. "I love it," Fred hooted, "I truly do." But Rosie Revere knew that couldn't be true. She stuck the cheese hat on the back of her shelf, and after that, kept her dreams to herself. And that's how it went until one autumn day, her oldest relation showed up for a stay. Her great-grand-aunt Rose was a true dynamo, who worked building airplanes a long time ago. She told Rosie tales of the things she had done and goals she had checked off her list, one by one. She gave a sad smile as she looked to the sky. The one thrill left on my list is to fly. But time never lingers as long as it seems. I'll chalk that one up to old lady's dreams. That night as Rosie lay wide-eyed in bed, a daring idea crept into her head. She could build a gizmo to help her aunt fly. She looked at the cheese hat and said, "No, not I." But questions are tricky, and some hold on tight, and this one kept Rosie awake through the night. So when dawn approached and red streaks lit the sky, young Rosie knew how to make her aunt fly. She worked and she worked till the day was half gone, then hauled her cheese copter out onto the lawn. to give her invention a test just to see the ridiculous flop it might turn out to be. Strapped onto the cockpit, she flipped on the switch. The Hilo Cheese Copter sputtered and twitched. It floated a moment and whirled round and round, then froze for a heartbeat, then crashed to the ground. Then Rosie heard laughter and turned round to see the old woman laughing and slapping her knee. She laughed till she wheezed and her eyes filled with tears, all to the horror of Rosie Revere, who thought, oh no, never, not ever again will I try to build something to sputter or spin, or build with a lever, a switch, or a gear, and never will I be a great engineer. She turned round to leave, but then Great-Great-Aunt Rose grabbed hold of young Rosie and pulled her in close, and hugged her and kissed her and started to cry. You did it, hooray! It's a perfect first try. A perfect first try. I love that. This great flop is over. It's time for the next. Young Rosie was baffled, embarrassed, perplexed. I failed, said dear Rosie. It's just made of trash. Didn't you see it? The cheese copter crashed. Yes, said her great aunt. It crashed, that is true. But first, it did what it just needed to do. Before it crashed, Rosie, before that, it flew. Your brilliant first flop was a raging success. Now, come on. Let's get busy and on to the next. She handed a notebook to Rosie Revere, who smiled at her aunt as it all became clear. Life must have its failures, but this was not it. The only true failure can come if you quit. The only true failure can come if you quit. They worked till the sun sneaked away to its bed. Aunt Rose helped her headscarf around Rosie's head and sent her to sleep with a smile ear to ear to dream the bold dreams of a great engineer. At Blue River Creek, all the kids in grade 2 built gizmos and gadgets and doohickeys too. With each perfect failure, they all stand and cheer, but none quite as proud as Rosie Revere. You're only a failure when you quit, so never give up. On this day, in 1815, Mount Tambora, located in Indonesia, erupted. This was one of the largest volcanic eruptions in history. On this day in 1815. Hi friends, just wanted to share one thing that we're doing at Innovation Academy to help with the COVID-19 crisis. We're using our 3D printer to print protective face shields for our medical professionals. So far we've printed 6, and we can print 2 at a time. And here they are printing. And it takes about 6 hours per run for us to be able to print 2 face shields. So we're doing this to help out during this crisis, and we're using our science, technology, engineering, and math skills. Just thought you might want to know. One of the most important reasons that human beings have become the most successful species on Earth is due to our mastery of tools and simple machines. Now remember, a simple machine is something that helps you work easier, accomplish more, while putting in less energy. A wheel and axle is a simple machine. A wheel combined with a rod through its center can be used to lift or move loads. Some examples of wheels and axles are toy cars, our office chairs, wheels on our cabinets, bicycles. Cars have wheels and axles. This wheel and axle right here, you can see the wheel, and running through it is a little screw or axle that helps the wheel to spin. I'm going to demonstrate another wheel and axle right now. Our simple machine today for our science principle is a wheel and axle. That was fantastic. Thank you for joining me for episode 5 of Principal Science. I'll see you on Monday. Have a wonderful weekend. Ta-ta for now.